Now talk about all of the cues that you should track as we get into this trading session. Mangalam, Vivek, Hormaz are all here to take us through the trade setup as we see it this morning. Guys, a very good morning to all of you, and everyone's looking festive, guys. Merry Christmas to all of you in advance. Vivek, coming to you first. The handover has been good as well, right? I mean, see, it looks like that spirit is really spreading across the global markets.
Well, absolutely right. Season's greetings. So what's actually happened is that yesterday turned out to be the day where you did see a bounce back across most of the equity markets after the steep sell-off that we saw day before yesterday. So, like we mentioned, in the US markets recovered quite sharply. And in fact, now the US markets are on track for the 8th straight week of gains that we will see. Talking about crude oil prices, yesterday crude oil prices marginally fell. Now remember, Angola has decided to exit the OPEC, and on the back of that, Brent futures now trading lower than the $80 a barrel mark. Now talking about Indian markets yesterday, post the steep sell-off that we saw on Wednesday, and yesterday's opening too was quite weak, but a very, very sharp recovery came intraday across all indices, and in fact, it was the heavyweights in the Nifty bank, that was the HDFC Bank as well as SBI, that actually helped the markets recover quite sharply. Now, talking about the mid-cap and small-cap indices, very, very sharp recovery there too, both of them ending well in excess of 1% for the day, and so that kind of indicated the kind of buying at dip that we are seeing across the market. Now, also, one key pack yesterday, the diagnostics company, they turned out to be amongst the top gainers. And today morning, Asian markets have taken strong cues from overnight markets, so they too are in the green, if Nifty too indicating a positive start.
Okay, positive start. Let's see how we go from there. Vivek, thanks for that. Let's also talk about all of the individual stocks that you should track. And Vivek and Hormaz is here to help us with that. Hormaz.
Morning, Pavitra, and I'll start off with a big one, that is LIC, where the Department of Economic Affairs has granted a one-time exemption on the minimum public shareholding norms, and now it can achieve that 25% threshold by May of 2032. So we'll keep that on our radar. All Cargo Logistics will demerge its international supply chain business into All Cargo ECU, and the remaining entity will hold the express and the contract logistics business. Now, shareholders will get one ECU share for every one All Cargo Logistics share that they hold, and the All Cargo Gati shareholders will get 63 shares of the remaining entity for every 10 that they hold. Zomato has denied news reports of that they are acquiring Shiprocket. They said that they have no plans of any acquisition as of now, and the focus remains on the core business. GMR Airports, where the NIIF is going to invest 675 crore rupees at its Bhogapuram airport in Andhra Pradesh. Keynes Tech closed its QIP, raised 1,400 crore rupees from that, and Nippon India, AMC, HDFC, MF, ICICI Prudential were some of the funds that were allotted shares in that. Tata Motors, where the exchanges have issued an NOC for the cancellation of its DVR shares, part of the process. KPI Green has raised 300 crore rupees through its QIP. The issue price of 1,183 is a 5% discount to its floor price. Railtel has won a 66 crore order from the NF Railway Construction, and lastly, Angel One, which will consider its third quarter earnings, but more importantly, a dividend on the 15th of January 2024. Back to you.
Okay, so lots of news in these individual names as well. Hormaz, thanks a lot for that. Finally, it's over to Mangalam, who's looking at cues from the futures and options space. Mangalam, we were just briefly talking about how there was such a big intraday recovery yesterday. Take us through what we should track this morning.
Well, after a day of fall, we saw a day of recovery, and that recovery was pretty sharp and more pronounced in the second half of trade, particularly in the last hour itself. So if you just take a look at the Nifty as well as the Nifty Bank, the Nifty did keep seeing a few jumps through the trading session, but the Nifty Bank, look at that, post 2:30, a big up move is what we saw in the Nifty. Closed around that 21,250 mark. A lot of the call writers were positioned for an expiry around that level itself. But the bigger move came by in the mid-cap index. The mid-cap index saw a sharper surge of almost 2% at an index level, and the advanced decline charts would tell you the story of the day, where we started with more stocks declining and ended with way more stocks gaining than the number of stocks which fell in yesterday's trading session. Institutional flows in the cash markets, well, they were netting each other off, but gross volumes were again lower, below 10,000 crore from both the FIs and the DIIs as we close the books towards the end of this year. But there was constant purchase in index futures by the FIIs itself. They covered some short positions. They bought about 212 crores, and they covered 7,500 short contracts. That means that the longs have now inched to 67%. Two-thirds of the FII positioning in index futures are on the long side, so that's something we'll be watching out for. Who are the ones who unwound their positions? It were the clients, the HNIs and individual clients. Just keep an eye out on the net longs for the FIIs. It's near 90,000, so that's a mark that we have to watch out for in terms of it being a little overbought.
Okay, Mangalam, thanks a lot for laying out all of those cues for us. That is the trade setup this morning.